Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is the show where we do the heavy lifting for you, transforming really dense analysis into knowledge you can actually use.
And today, we're zeroing in on a financial blueprint made specifically for young professionals. For, people in their 20s who are just starting out.
Yeah, actually. And we're going to focus on this idea of leverage, but not the kind of leverage you might be thinking of.
Right. This isn't about borrowing money. We're talking about temporal leverage, the sheer irreplaceable advantage of having decades ahead of you. It is, without a doubt, the single greatest asset you have right now.
Okay, let's unpack that right away because it's really the heart of this whole deep dive. I want you to ask yourself, what is your single biggest financial asset?
If you're like most people starting out, you probably think it's your starting salary, right? Or maybe a few $1,000s you saved up.
But when you look at the models, the blueprints for how people build real geometric wealth, the data tells a completely different story.
The data concerns it. Your biggest asset is time. That third decade of your life, your 20s, is what we're calling the compounding countdown. You might have low financial capital, sure, but you have the highest possible temporal leverage.
And missing the start of that countdown it's just financially devastating because you can't get that time back.
You can never get it back.
So our mission today, and this all comes from analysis of geometric wealth models, data on passive income, and human capital optimization, is to build what we're calling a strategic capital architecture.
That sounds a little intimidating, I know. A bit formal.
It does. But all it really means is a simple, systematic plan. It's the design for setting up your finances so your wealth grows geometrically.
Think of a snowball rolling downhill. It gets bigger and faster exponentially. That's geometric. Linear growth is just a flat line. It's predictable, but it's way too slow.
And getting this right now, prevents so much financial regret later on.
Exactly. We're looking at the system itself, the order you do things in. If you build this architecture now, you're laying the foundation for financial freedom decades sooner than everyone else. So we're here to turn these expert blueprints into an actionable guide for you.
Let's jump right into the engine of all this growth then. Compound interest. We hear the term all the time, but if you're just starting out, you might be thinking, how does this apply to me? My savings account balance is tiny.
That's a great question. It really gets to the core of it. We hear interest, but the magic word is compound. It's not just earning interest on your own money, the principal. It's earning interest on the interest you've already made.
It's money making its own money.
Precisely. The snowball analogy is perfect. Your initial principal, the first bit of snow, is small. But because you have 40 years, that little snowball has the maximum amount of time to roll and grow. Time is the multiplier here.
I love that. Now, this is where people's eyes usually glaze over. They see that terrifying formula in a textbook, A equals P times 1 plus whatever.
Yeah, the algebraic nightmare. Forget the formula. You don't need to memorize it. You just need to understand the intuition behind it.
Right. And the leverage points.
Okay, but if we do just peek at that formula for 1 second, the variable to focus on is n. That's the frequency. It's how many times your interest compounds per year. If it's only once a year, that's a really slow burn.
But this is where it gets interesting for optimizing things. The analysis we looked at really highlights this. If you increase the frequency, say, from monthly to daily, which a lot of high-yield savings accounts do now, you are mathematically better off.
It's a huge distinction, even if the advertised rate, the ATY, is the same. Daily compounding means your interest starts earning its own interest 365 times a year. It just starts working for you faster.
So when you're comparing two accounts, don't just look at the big number. Check the compounding frequency. Daily is always superior to monthly.
And to quickly get a feel for the power of this engine, there's a beautiful little shortcut, the rule of 72.
Yes, the classic. Every finance deep dive has to mention it.
And for good reason. It turns that scary formula into simple division. You just take the number 72, divide it by your expected rate of return.
And that's roughly how many years it'll take for your money to double.
Let's run the numbers. Say you're getting a conservative 4% return. 72 divided by 4 is 18. Your money doubles in 18 years.
So if you start at 25, that first chunk of money doubles by age 43.
But if you're aiming for something closer to a market average, maybe 7%, well, 72 divided by 7 is a little over 10. Your money doubles in just 10 years. It can double 4 times before you retire.
That just perfectly illustrates why patience and, just staying in the game duration are your secret weapons. That first doubling is the hardest, but then it's not 1,000 doubling to 2,000, it's 4,000 doubling to 8. The growth just explodes.
But we have to pivot here, because as powerful as compound interest is for you, It is a brutal, destructive enemy when it's working against you.
Which is exactly what high-interest debt does.
And that brings us to the absolute importance of sequence.
This is so critical. You can have the best intentions, but if you put your money in the wrong places at the wrong time, you're just leaking potential. The thesis here is that the sequence is just as important as the amount you're saving.
Right. All the frameworks point to 5 non-negotiable steps for a young investor. Think of it like building a house. You have to pour the foundation first. This is for maximum defense and then maximum growth.
Step 1, the starter emergency fund. Okay, so why start here? We just spent 5 minutes talking about the power of investing. Why put cash aside first?
This is a small buffer, maybe $500, maybe up to $2,000. And its purpose is purely defensive. Data shows that the median cost of an unexpected financial shock, your car breaks down, you have a surprise medical bill, it's about $2,000.
And if you don't have that $2,000 in cash, where does it go?
Straight onto the credit card.
So you just turned a short-term problem into a long-term problem with, 25% interest compounding against you?
Exactly. This small fund prevents that debt spiral. You might miss out on a tiny bit of market return on that cash, but you're preventing a catastrophic financial setback. It keeps the compound interest engine from turning on you.
Okay, defense secured. Step 2 is non-negotiable. It's the highest return you will ever get, the employer match.
This is the definition of free money. If your company has a 401k or a similar plan and they match your contributions, you absolutely have to contribute enough to get that full match.
Let's break that down. If they match 100% of the first 4% you put in, and you contribute that 4%, they put in 4% too.
That's an immediate, guaranteed 100% return on your money. No stock, no piece of real estate, nothing can promise you a guaranteed 100% return. Leaving that on the table is it's choosing to be poorer.
Okay, but here's a question that always comes up. What if I have a 25% credit card bill? Shouldn't I pay that off before I even think about the 401k match?
That is the perfect question to ask, and it shows why this hierarchy is so smart. Mathematically, yes, paying off 25% debt is better than any future market return, but the employer match is instant and it's guaranteed.
Ah, so it's about certainty.
It's about certainty and time. You put in $100 today and you instantly have $200 compounding for 40 years. So the sequence is: secure the match first to maximize that temporal leverage, get the free money, and then you immediately pivot and throw everything at the high interest debt.
Perfect. So starter fund, employer match. Now step 3, high interest debt eradication. This is aggressive. Anything over 7 or 8%.
This is financial cancer. You have to cut it out. We're talking credit cards, payday loans. This is where you get ruthless. Paying off an 8% loan is the same as earning a risk-free, guaranteed 8% return on your money. It's the safest, most efficient use of your capital at this stage.
Okay, so once that toxic debt is gone, which is a huge deal, step 4 is to build your ultimate defense, the full emergency reserve.
Right. Now you expand that starter fund to cover 3 to 6 months of your essential living expenses. This is what gives you real stability. If you lose your job, this is your runway.
So you have time to find the right next job, not just the first one that comes along.
Exactly. And it also prevents you from having to sell your investments in a panic, which usually happens when the market is down. This fund is your protection.
And only then, only after all those other steps are complete, do we get to step 5. Target savings rate scaling.
This is where you focus on hitting that widely recommended 12 to 15% total retirement savings rate. That includes your contribution and the employer match.
And that 12 to 15% number, that assumes you started in your mid-20s, right?
It does. If you start later, that percentage has to go way up, maybe to 20 or 25% just to catch up. That's why the sequence is everything. It's the most efficient and safest path.
This hierarchy brings us to a really nuanced topic: strategic debt management. You can't just say all debt is bad, especially for young professionals with student loans.
Right. You need to triage your debt based on the interest rate. We can break it down into 3 tiers.
Okay, tier 1.
High interest debt. Anything over 8%, this is your credit cards, your payday loans, this is a financial emergency. The guaranteed return from paying this off just crushes any potential market return.
Tier 2.
Medium interest. Let's say 6 to 8%. This is often private student loans. Here, it's a balanced approach. Paying it off gives you a guaranteed return, but also, importantly, peace of mind. Not every decision is purely mathematical.
And the third tier, this is the one that's a bit counterintuitive.
Low interest debt, anything under 6%. Think federal student loans or a mortgage. This is what we call cheap debt. And the strategy here is critical. You only make the minimum payments and you invest the rest.
Okay, that sounds so wrong to a lot of people. The idea of holding on to debt on purpose, why not just crush that 3% student loan and be done with it?
Because it's a choice that leverages time and math in your favor. If you connect it back to compounding, the math overwhelmingly favors investing the difference. The stock market, historically, has returned around 7% or more over long periods.
So if I can borrow at 3% and earn 7%, I'm making money on the spread. But what about the risk? The market isn't guaranteed.
And that's where your temporal leverage comes in. Because you're in your 20s, you have a 40-year timeline. That long horizon smooths out the short-term bumps in the market. Statistically, for someone with 40 years until retirement, holding cheap debt and investing the difference will maximize your final net worth.
So it's about letting the math, not your emotions about debt, guide the decision. We'll actually put some hard numbers on that later.
Yeah, we have a great example for that.
Okay, now let's talk about one of the most powerful and honestly most overlooked savings vehicles out there, especially for young, healthy people, the health savings account, or HSA.
It's routinely missed because, it has health in the name, so people think it's just for medical bills.
Right, and health insurance is the last thing most 20-somethings want to think about. Why would this be a priority over something like a Roth IRA?
Because if you're eligible, and that means you have to be on a high-deductible health plan, the HSA is mathematically superior to both a 401k and a Roth IRA. It's because of its legendary triple tax advantage.
Triple tax advantage. Okay, let's break that down piece by piece. What's the first advantage?
1, your contributions are pre-tax. So if you contribute through your payroll, it lowers your taxable income for the year. But here's the hidden gem. You often get to skip FICA taxes, too.
FICA. That's the 7.65% for Social Security and Medicare. Huh?
That's the one. So you bypass income tax and FICA tax on the way in. That is a huge, immediate saving.
Okay, that's powerful. What's number 2?
2, the growth is tax-free. All your investments inside the HSA, the dividends, the capital gains, they grow completely tax-free, just like in a Roth IRA. So you get maximum compounding.
And the third advantage?
3, withdrawals are tax-free as long as you use them for qualified medical expenses. And let's be honest, those expenses tend to go up a lot when you're older.
That is a killer combo. But for a young, healthy person who rarely goes to the doctor, how do you turn this into a retirement account? It seems weird to lock up money for medical bills you don't have.
This is the key strategy. For a healthy 20-something, the move is to invest and avoid. You pay your small current medical bills out of pocket. Don't touch the HSA.
So you just let the money in the HSA grow?
You let it grow and you keep your receipts. Digital copies are fine. You let those funds compound for decades untouched. The money rolls over every year and there are no required minimum distributions like with other retirement accounts. You just let it ride.
So I save my receipts for 40 years.
Right.
Then what? What happens at age 65 if I want to use the money for a vacation, not a new hip?
That's the magic. After age 65, you can pull money out for non-medical expenses without that big 20% penalty. You'll just pay ordinary income tax on it, just like you would with a traditional IRA.
Wow. So it has the upfront tax break of a 401k, the tax-free growth of a Roth, and after 65, it becomes a flexible fund for anything, while still letting you take money out tax-free for medical needs.
It's the ultimate flexible retirement vehicle. That's why experts rank it at the very top of the list for young, healthy people.
Okay, we've talked a lot about the theory. Let's get into the cold, hard numbers.
Yes.
This is the part that should really light a fire under you, because the cost of waiting is it's brutal.
This is where you really see the exponential curve in action. Time is not linear. Its financial impact is exponential.
So let's take a specific example from the analysis. The cost of delaying your investments by just 10 years. Imagine 2 people, both investing $300 a month, both getting a 7% annual return.
Investor A starts at age 25. By the time they hit 65, that account has grown to over $720,000.
$720,000.
All right.
Now, investor B, they wait. Maybe they want to feel more settled. They start at age 35, just a 10-year delay. Same $300 a month. What do they have at age 65?
They end up with only about $340,000. Waiting just 10 years cut their final wealth by more than half. They missed out on almost $400,000. And think about this. The difference in what they personally contributed was only $36,000. But the difference in the outcome is almost $400,000.
It's the money that your money makes that matters most. The decision you make today, at 25, is numerically the most important financial decision of your life.
Yeah.
The gap created by 10 years of missed compounding is almost impossible to close later on.
Now, investing in the market is just one side of it. Your wealth is capped by your savings rate, which is capped by your income, so you have to scale your human capital. And the analysis is clear. The highest ROI activity for a young professional is negotiating their starting salary.
Okay, this is another one with a stunning number attached to it. The source material says that negotiating just a $5,000 increase in your starting salary can lead to over $500,000 in extra wealth over a career.
$500,000.
How does that math even work? Break that down for me.
Okay, it compounds on 3 levels. First, that extra $5K creates a higher baseline for your entire career. Every future raise, whether it's 3% or 5%, is calculated on that higher number.
So the gap between you and the person who didn't negotiate just gets wider every single year.
Wider every year. Second, any bonuses or other compensation that's based on a percentage of your salary is also bigger. And third, and this is the most important part, every dollar you contribute to your 401k is based on that higher salary.
So you save more, your employer matches more, and those bigger contributions have 40 years to compound.
It is compounding your effort. That one conversation, that 1 hour of preparation to negotiate, it is arguably the single most financially rewarding hour of work you will ever do.
All right, let's revisit that low-interest debt argument. The choice between paying it off or investing. We have a concrete example that shows how the math works in favor of investing for the long term.
Right. Let's take someone with a $20,000 federal student loan at a low 3% interest rate. If they just make the minimum payments for 10 years, they'll pay about $3,175 in total interest. That's the cost of holding the debt.
Okay. Now, what if instead of paying extra on that loan, they take that surplus cash and invest it in the market, aiming for a 6% return?
After 10 years, that investment would generate about $5,817 in gains.
So you subtract the interest you paid.
Right. You subtract the $3,175 interest from the $5,817 in gains, and you come out with a $2,600 net wealth advantage just by choosing to invest instead of aggressively paying off cheap debt.
And again, it works because you're young. You have the time horizon to absorb the market's ups and downs and let that statistical advantage play out.
It's a crucial part of the strategic capital architecture.
So we've covered the why and the where. Now let's get into the how, the practical tools. This is what we're calling the Wealthnetic blueprint, designed for you to use today.
And the first step is just awareness. You have to know where your money is going. A budget isn't a restriction, it's a tool for awareness.
2 dominant styles really stand out here. The first is zero-based budgeting. This is the philosophy behind tools like YNA, You Need a Budget.
The idea is to give every dollar a job. Before the month even starts, you allocate all of your income to different categories: bills, savings, debt. There's nothing left over.
It creates this radical intentionality. It's incredibly powerful if you're trying to aggressively pay off debt because it forces you to make conscious decisions about every single dollar.
The second and much simpler approach is the 50-30-20 rule. This is a great starting point if you don't want to track every single penny.
Right. It's a rule of thumb. You take your after-tax income and divide it into 3 buckets. 50% for your needs, rent, groceries, utilities.
30% for your wants, dining out, entertainment, shopping.
And the last 20% for savings and extra debt payments.
The key here is that it's flexible. If you live in an expensive city, your needs might be higher. But if you're serious about your goals, you can shrink that wants category and push your savings rate well past 20%. The most important part is to automate it. Set up automatic transfers so your savings happen without you even thinking about it.
Okay, next up in the blueprint. Focus on scalable income streams. We have to reject the time for money trap.
Exactly. Getting a second job that pays $20 an hour is a linear solution. We need geometric solutions. That means actively acquiring skills that are in high demand.
Looking at the 2025 labor market, a few things are clear. First, AI fluency and prompt engineering. This is becoming as basic as knowing how to use a computer.
Second, data literacy. The ability to take data and turn it into a story or a decision is invaluable.
And third, believe it or not, advanced soft skills. Things like adaptability, conflict management, emotional intelligence. These are things machines have a hard time replicating.
So when you think about a side hustle, how do you know if it's actually worth your time? Is it scalable?
There's a great benchmark for this, the $60 hour rule. If the business model can't eventually generate at least $60 for every hour of your time, it's going to be very hard to scale it beyond just being another job.
Think about it. If you're walking dogs for $20,000 an hour, you're trapped. You can't hire someone for $25 an hour to help you because your revenue model collapses. Scalable businesses often have zero marginal costs, like selling a digital product.
And we should also think about monetizing idle assets.
Yeah.
The sharing economy.
Right. Renting out a parking space if you live near a train station. Or renting out tools you own but don't use often. It's low effort, high margin income.
And then, of course, there's investment-based passive income. For beginners, that means things like dividend ETFs, REITs for real estate exposure, or just a high-yield savings account that compounds daily.
These require financial capital up front, but very little time after that. And the ultimate goal, the definition of financial freedom, is when your passive income covers all of your living expenses.
So how do you know if any of this is actually working? You need one single, clear metric to guide you. And that metric is your net worth.
It's a simple calculation. Total assets, your cash, your investments, minus your psychology. Total liabilities, which is all your debt. That number is the scoreboard for your financial life.
You want to see that number going up steadily over time. Now, tracking it can be a bit of a pain, which is why digital tools are so essential.
We recommend a few. For an investor focused on the big picture, Empower is great. It's free, it gives you that 360-degree view, and it has tools to analyze your 401k fees.
If you're budgeting with a partner and need a collaborative tool, Monarch Money is fantastic. It's got a really clean interface and syncs everything seamlessly.
And finally, if your main goal right now is just destroying debt, then you need a budget. Wyoming is the tool. It's built for that zero-based approach and really helps change your spending habits.
The tool doesn't matter as much as the habit. Track your net worth. You can't steer the ship if you don't know where you are.
All right, to quickly recap our strategic capital architecture. First, time is your multiplier. You're in the compounding countdown. Start now.
Second, follow the hierarchy. Starter fund. Get the full employer match, kill high-interest debt, build your full emergency reserve, and then use that triple tax advantage HSA. The sequence is everything.
And third, scale your income. Invest in high-value skills like AI and data literacy, and use your net worth as the ultimate guide to your progress.
If you can just integrate these pillars, you ensure your wealth grows geometrically, not linearly. The game changer isn't finding the one perfect stock. It's consistency, applied over a long period of time.
And that raises a really important final question for you to think about.
Are you prioritizing maximizing your time advantage and savings percentage as aggressively as you prioritize your monthly budget?
Because the biggest trade-off isn't about what you spend this month. It's about maximizing the unique, irreplaceable financial value of your 20s.
We really encourage you to explore these concepts and check out some of those tools we mentioned. Get started today. And subscribe to The Deep Dive for more actionable insights. Thank you for diving deep with us.